Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Yep, today, week 5, we are covering on a very interesting topic called the law of torts. Okay, law of torts is actually completely very, very important to civil engineers. Okay, to our engineering profession, actually to all professionals, they are actually very important. Besides the law of contract, the law of tort is another area of law that you all need to be very watchful of. During project management classes, we have covered a lot on law of contract because that is a very direct branch of law that is actually applicable to engineers because every project is a contract. Okay, but law of tort deals with professionalism. It deals with you being a professional. You have responsibilities and how you fulfill that responsibilities. Okay, so according to Salmon, okay, law tort is actually a civil wrong. Criminal law is for like the acts actually affect the whole society. Okay, whereby civil law is more for the act that is breaching between a person with another person. Okay, so civil wrong is tort is actually under civil wrong because you're actually affecting the person. There are somebody, a civilians that get the problem or get the losses out of your action or inaction. So tort is a civil wrong in which the remedy is common law action for unliquidated damage, which is not exclusively the breach of contract or a breach of trust. Okay, this is merely an equitable obligation, meaning that you may not have a contract with that particular person, but because you have an equivalent obligation to that particular person, and therefore you can be wrong under the tort law. Okay, so like let's say you are the designer, the buyer of the house don't have a contract. Your contract is with the client, and the client actually have sales and purchase contract with the house buyer. Okay, but whatever that your design, you have a responsibilities to that house buyer. That is an equitable obligation. Okay, so tortious liability arises from a breach of that duty. Okay, and it has to be fixed by law. It has to be made good by law. Okay, so this duty towards persons generally and its breach is redressable by an action for unliquidated damage. Okay, so in one of the damage that we can, that you can get in return is liquidated damage. This is unliquidated damage. It's not something that you can actually put a finger and say that this is 3,000, this is 5,000, this is 10,000. Okay, so this is what we call unliquidated damage. So it is an act or an omission to act. Like you fail to act. Okay, so it's actually not a personal relationship sort of things. It's actually a breach that is not necessarily that you actually have that personal relationship with that particular person. So it's not undertaken by contract. So that harm that was done, okay, is not through the action of contract, but it's an action of an act, an omission towards the person that you have obligation, and that obligation is not stated exactly in the contract. Okay, so it is something that is very much applicable to us because we are professionals. So this is law of torts is actually being placed under engineering ethics rather than project management. Okay, so I hope you can see the difference here between contract law and the law of tort. So law of tort is actually is actually arising from obligation that you have towards that particular person or that group of people or that group of end user, but you do not have a contract with them. Okay, so you do have a duty to make sure that your work does not do them any wrong. Your action or your omission to act does not do them any wrong. Okay, And I think there is a section of notes that in misconduct whereby I talk about the act of negligence actually arises from what area. So law of tort is actually the final result is you are sued for negligence. Okay, so this, all this definition actually is saying that tort is a civil wrong because it's dealing with civilians. It's not. It's like murder, stealing, robbing. All these are actually, it's wrong in terms of the society. It's wrong. Even though you do it onto an individual, but it actually affects the whole society. So those are criminal wrongs. You see, so civil wrong is not to say that a lot of people will be affected. You see, if a thief is not catched, then he will do this whole society some danger because he's not going to steal from one person. He's going to steal from 10 person, 20 person, 50 person. If a murderer is on the run, he's going to affect many people. So those are criminal act, criminal wrong. A civil wrong is very specifically towards a target group of people or a certain group of people, or just one or two person, or just persons, in charge. In the picture. So tort is a civil wrong. Okay. So tortious liability arises from a breach of duty. It's an act or an omission to act. So it's going to be fixed by law. Okay, or a statutory body. Okay. So law is definitely fixed by the legal systems. Okay, so it's not like the law of tort can be run by Board of Engineers. So we don't do that. So ethics is actually under civil engineers. The Board of Engineers, but law of tort is actually under the legal systems of Malaysia. Okay, so so there will be damages that has been created, and you need to pay for that damages. Okay, and not pay as in there's a lot of way to pay that damage. Okay, so it's actually an infringement of a legal rights. Okay, so objective, what is the objective of the law of tort? So the tort has four objectives. First, it will help to compensate the victims who are suffering from that action or inaction of the person. Second, it seeks the shift of cause of such injury, okay, who are legally responsible for inflicting them. So if this is a design problem, then it goes straight to the engineer. So this is talking about who will be responsible. See, so it is very clear to find out who is. It's a good way to find out. Tort is a good way to find out. It will go down to the root and find out who is the person who are legally responsible for that. So there is a few elements here that we will talk about later. Okay. So third, with this kind of law, it will seek to discourage, careless, risky behavior in the future. Okay, and number four is of course dealing with the fourth objective is to seek to vindicate legal rights and interests that have been compromised, diminished, and emasculated. Okay, so it's like we support that right, and so it gives all the citizens of Malaysia, citizens of the world, the common people, the civilians, a way to safeguard our interests and a way to protect ourselves. And when if our rights are being compromised, or diminished, or somehow cancelled out, we actually have a route to go to. You see, so in theory, this objective serves when tort liability is imposed on the tortfeasor. Tortfeasors is the people who has actually done on the tortfeasor for intentional wrongdoing, negligence, and ultra hazardous activities. So those are the people who are committing that action. Okay, so this is what we have as the introduction to the law of tort.